"Timothy, please don't go. Don't leave us here." Those were my wife Lauren's last words before I decided to leave her and our friends in the family's 2003 Ford Explorer. This is the car I'd inherited from my father. Lauren and I were vacationing in Lake Tahoe. We decided to go camping for a couple days, but something went wrong. My name is Timothy, I'm 25 years old, and so is my wife Lauren. We've been together for 4 years. 2 of those years we've been married and living together. We are fortunate because our parents actively support us. Lauren's father provided us with a separate place to live, and my father helped with the car by giving me his 2003 Ford Explorer. That car was very spacious and comfortable, which has always been important to me. I paid a lot of attention to it, paying attention to every detail. My father was an engineer for a large company, and I followed in his footsteps. I graduated from college and now work in my profession, although the salary leaves much to be desired. I believe I can bring it to an acceptable level. Lauren has a finance background and aspires to become a top-notch financial advisor. She enjoys working with numbers, interacting with people, and making tough decisions. Our first close encounter with Lauren happened on our first date. More specifically, we met at a club and passion erupted between us that same night. We decided to quickly find a private place in the restroom. That night I was with 2 of my friends, Ethan and William. William was my childhood friend, and I met Ethan my freshman year of college. We were inseparable. Lauren wasn't alone at the club. She was with her friend Caroline, who my friend Ethan had struck up a relationship with. Lauren had soft curly brown hair and a slender figure. I was head over heels in love with this girl. I guess that's why after 2 years of relationship I proposed to her. At the time, Caroline and Ethan took their time with this decision. William also found a girl quickly, but we never spent time together. Lauren and I often went out on the town with Caroline and Ethan to hang out, while William always refused and made excuses for us. Something along the lines of, "I was planning on going to the movies with my girlfriend tonight." It happened every time, so over the course of 4 years, we grew considerably distant from each other. If you remember, he was my best childhood friend, always supportive and understanding of me. My repeated attempts to reconnect were unsuccessful. We might see each other a couple times a month, and it was mostly casual. Ethan and I thought William held a grudge against us because we had found girlfriends who were mutual friends, and we all had common interests, whereas William felt like a third extra. But we honestly tried to reach out to him by inviting him out anywhere, but he always found excuses. One Saturday night, Lauren came up with an idea. "Timothy, we rarely go out. Maybe we should go camping for a couple days. Invite Caroline and Ethan and William and his girlfriend. I think it would help us all get closer again and break the routine of our lives." After thinking for a bit, I replied, "Maybe you're right. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I always thought it would be a bad idea, that he would say no again and not go anywhere." Lauren said, "I think it's worth a try, especially since I can see how concerned you are about you and Ethan distancing yourselves from William." "Okay, my love, I'll call Ethan tomorrow and propose the idea. There is only one unresolved question. Where are we going to go?" I asked. "How about Lake Tahoe? You could fish there." Tensely, I thought about that place for a while. True, it's in another state and it would be a 10-hour drive, but we have a family Jeep. I think it's time to use it. "You're right," she said. "I'll call everyone tomorrow and talk to my bosses about taking a couple days off." I came to the conclusion, along with Lauren, that it was time to get a group together and go on a vacation to the lake. After all, it was summer, which meant we could swim and have a good time the next day. I called Ethan first and pitched the idea to him. He happily approved, but added that he doubted William would go and his girlfriend might not agree. So we decided to plan the trip even if he said no. I accepted the offer and made the next call to William. It was noon and William answered the phone in a sleepy voice, asking what was so urgent. "Good morning, buddy. Actually, yes, it's very urgent. Are you ready to listen?" I replied. He said he understood and was willing to listen. I said I was coming over and hung up. I quickly packed up and drove to William's house. As I entered his house, I smelled a strong odor of alcohol from the bedroom. William was wearing old house shorts looking pretty awful. He was under the influence of alcohol and didn't look clean. I immediately sensed something was up. I went back to the car. grabbed a bottle of sparkling water, and went back to his place. While he was drinking the water, I decided to ask him, "You don't look so good, to say the least. What happened?" "Did something really happen?" he asked. "Have you ever been cheated on?" And I knew immediately what had happened. We sat and talked for about 2 hours. His girlfriend had cheated on him with her ex-boyfriend, and according to William, it had happened several times. Then he accidentally read their messages and found a hidden folder on her laptop with over 6 videos of her cheating. William told me all of this. I couldn't feel it all. I don't know. I had no remorse, maybe because I realized from the beginning that it wasn't such a good match since his girlfriend didn't want to hang out with us. I supported him as best I could and suggested we relax, telling him we were planning a picnic at Lake Tahoe in California next week. He looked at me silently, then said he'd call me in a couple days. I advised him not to worry too much and assured him that everything would be fine. In response, he simply remarked, "You don't understand, Timothy. When we meet again, I will feel better." Back home, I told Lauren what had happened, but she didn't seem interested. Ethan, on the other hand, was in complete shock and said that we needed to help William get out of this depression. I agreed with him. The next few days went by quietly, and at one point William called me. "Hey buddy, I came to my senses. I'm feeling good, guys. When do you plan on leaving?" I replied, "Hey, we plan to leave in 3 days, Sunday morning through Tuesday night. Be sure to bring a tent. We will have 3 tents for all of us." We talked and I told him we needed more stuff because we wanted to fish by the fire and swim. Everyone was thrilled that William was joining us, and I was excited about it too. We hadn't gone on a trip together in 4 years. Sunday morning came and we hit the road. We picked everyone up along the way. Lauren sat in the front seat and the rest of us sat in the back seat. Our trunk was full of stuff. We also stopped at a couple stores along the way and bought everything we needed. The trip was supposed to take 10 hours, but with general conversations, it seemed like only 2 hours had passed and we were already standing by the lake. Not far from our place where we were to spend the next 2 days, we actually arrived faster than planned, 8 hours. We got there around 6 in the evening. All that was left was to pitch our tents, light a fire, drink alcohol, and sit together around the fire for heart-to-heart conversations. I disconnected from all the household chores and began to immerse myself in the moment. William seemed happy and got along well with everyone. First, we lit the fire and started putting up our tents. We had 3 double tents, one for me and Lauren, one for Caroline and Ethan, and one for William. It took a total of 3 hours to set up, and by 9 p.m. it was all set up. We were all very tired, so sitting around the fire we roasted sausages and ate sandwiches. We discussed plans for the next day, which was to be filled with swimming in the lake, fishing, and exploring nature. I hadn't paid much attention to the surroundings, but the scenery here was breathtaking, like a fairy tale. After putting out the fire, we headed to our tents. It was summer, and it was very warm. Lauren seemed to be in a bad mood. When I tried to find out what was wrong, she just said everything was fine and went to bed. About 20 minutes after everyone had gone to their tents, I heard faint moans. It was Caroline and Ethan. It turned me on and I started to flirt with Lauren, but she refused. I was uncomfortable, but I thought maybe she had a headache or was just not in the mood. The reason, however, remained a mystery to me. I didn't fall asleep until 40 minutes later, when Caroline and Ethan had finished their business, and only then was I able to fall asleep properly. I woke up abruptly, birds were singing outside, and I heard muffled voices. Lauren wasn't beside me. It was 4:50 a.m., an hour before my alarm clock, and I decided to find out why my wife was awake so early. I climbed out of the tent and saw my wife engrossed in a conversation with William. It seemed that if I got up, went to the bathroom and came back, they wouldn't even notice me. I couldn't make out what they were talking about, so I slowly approached them. Just then, William was the first to notice me and said, "Oh, good morning. Why are you up so early? Would you like some tea or coffee? We've already heated the water." I don't remember exactly what I replied, but it sounded something like, "Good morning. Why are you up?" I completely ignored William's question. Lauren said, "Good morning. I woke up about 30 minutes ago and heard William starting the fire to boil water. I felt well rested, so I decided to go out and not wake you so you could sleep longer." I replied, "Okay, I'll have some coffee then." "Okay, I'll make it now," William replied. We spent an hour waiting for Caroline and Ethan, who were still asleep, to wake up. It was warm outside, birds were singing, and we had a mesmerizing view of the lake. The atmosphere was magical. We chatted, but the conversation was strained. Lauren was reluctant to participate in the conversation and was acting a little strange. When I saw her from afar, she seemed happy, but as soon as I joined their company, she became silent. I did not understand her behavior. At that moment, I thought that perhaps I had made a serious mistake somewhere. The alarm clock rang, and I breathed a sigh of relief because the atmosphere was oppressive and the tension was palpable. I decided that I would be sure to talk to Lauren tonight. Everyone was awake, cleaned up, and ready to hit the road. Our plans included visiting Emerald Bay State Park and checking out a local attraction. In fact, we came here for that very reason. We also wanted to visit the beach for a swim. We walked around the park, visited Viking Island, swam, and then went back on the ATVs. We all had a lot of emotions and impressions. It was a wonderful place, a real source of energy. In total, we took over 1,000 photos and videos, and the day left only positive emotions. However, there were moments when I felt tense. Lauren was pulling away from me more and more, and I could feel her connection to William. Perhaps she was waking up earlier and they were spending more time together in the morning. These thoughts kept me on my toes. I had never been paranoid, but now I felt that something was definitely wrong. When your wife gives most of her attention to another man, you can feel it instinctively. While bathing, I noticed William looking at Lauren in her swimsuit. From the outside, it might have seemed like nothing serious, but to me it was a clear red flag. When we got back to the tents, we bought extra firewood and started a fire. It was about 7 in the evening. We watched the magical sunset and chatted together. Caroline and Ethan sat hugging each other. Lauren and I were far away. Ethan noticed Lauren pulling away from me and joked, "Timothy, does he bite?" Lauren calmly replied, "I'm just really hot." At this point, William took a glass of water and poured it on Lauren. She was wearing a plain white t-shirt, and as it got wet, her intimate top became visible. Anger filled me. I grabbed the cup of boiling water and splashed it on William, making him scream and run in circles. "What did you do?" Lauren screamed. At that moment, William attacked me, swinging his fist at me. I can't say I was a master wrestler, but managed to grab William and get on top of him before I could swing. Ethan pulled me back and hit me so hard I passed out. I woke up in my tent. It was 9:30 p.m. on the clock. I took Lauren's pocket mirror and looked at myself. There were 2 bruises on my face, one from William and one from Ethan. At that moment, I thought my 2 best friends had just taken turns punching me in the face because I was defending my wife. I wasn't angry at that moment. Rather, I was confused because I didn't understand what was going on. When I got outside, I noticed Ethan putting out the fire. I approached Ethan expecting an apology, but he said, "Are you satisfied with ruining everyone's evening?" I replied, "Why did I ruin it? William was the first to attack and knocked me down. I didn't even get a chance to do anything to him. Look, let's talk tomorrow." "I don't have the energy for your fights anymore," Ethan said and said goodnight to me. At that moment, I heard the lock open and saw my wife coming out of William's tent. She had a wet towel and a water bottle in her hands. The first thing she said was, "Are you satisfied with what you did?" "What do you mean?" I blurted out, genuinely not understanding why everyone had gotten so angry and unfriendly. "Have you forgotten how you attacked William and burned his face off?" She parried, "What are you saying? The water was barely warm. I'm not crazy enough to scald him with boiling water," I said, only later realizing that Lauren was wearing short house shorts and a thin top, her usual sleepwear. "Let me check William, and if it's anything serious, I'm willing to apologize and cover any medical expenses if necessary," I offered. "No," Lauren's curt reply followed, and she continued, "You want to hurt him again? You've already ruined everyone's evening." With those words, she grabbed her water bottle and went back into the tent, closing it behind her. I didn't make any hasty decisions. Without an answer, I went into my tent and started thinking about the plan. At this point, I felt weak. My opinion didn't matter in this group. So why should I be a part of this company? I lay down and started thinking about the 2 men I considered my best friends. They completely blamed me for the unusual situation, even slapped me, and didn't apologize for it. I lay alone in the tent replaying the events. Tears were rolling down my face in frustration. I had always been the one to help and support, never raised my hand or yelled at anyone. But now that I was accused of pouring hot water on someone, I was completely confused and lost my balance. I just wanted to leave and go home alone. I no longer cared about what was going on between my wife and my best friend. What bothered me the most was the betrayal of my best friends. I decided to check to see if Lauren had left her phone in the tent, and it turned out she had it in her bag. It occurred to me to look in it. In her phone, I found an interesting conversation between my wife and William. I quickly scrolled through their correspondence all the way back to the beginning, which was dated a year ago. At that time, William had written to her for the first time in a long time complaining about his girlfriend, saying she wasn't as beautiful, smart, and understanding as Lauren. In response, Lauren sent him pictures of herself. At first, they were just ordinary photos, like her showing off a dress she bought. I even thought it was my gift to her. But then the correspondence got more interesting, and they started sending each other more personal messages and pictures. My hands were sweating as I read on. I learned that for over 7 months, William had been visiting my wife every morning when I left for work. It was mind-boggling. Every morning before I went to work, I would stop by a coffee shop nearby to buy coffee. Often, I would meet William there. In the beginning, I didn't pay much attention to it, thinking these meetings were casual. William broke up with his girlfriend not because she cheated on him, but because she realized he was cheating on her and left him. All this talk of depression after the breakup turned out to be a lie. What a twist! It turned out that while I was working, Caroline and Ethan and William and Lauren were dating and spending time together, going to restaurants and movies, and my whole world came crashing down. I decided not to read any further. Instead, I synchronized the entire conversation and saved it for myself. They even had a group chat where they scheduled meetings. I saved those as well, including many photos from their meetings. Putting Lauren's phone to the side, I just laid there. It was 11:00 p.m. and Lauren still hadn't returned. I didn't know what to do. Knowing only that my wife was cheating on me just a few feet away, I lay there doing nothing. Trying to listen, I heard no sounds, only silence. I realized that if I stepped out of the tent now, I would be heard. So I had to act quickly. I gave myself 10 seconds to catch my breath. I grabbed my GoPro camera, strapped it to my head, grabbed my hunting knife, and quickly cut through the tent. I ran to William's tent, also quickly cut through it from the top to see what was going on below. There I saw the following scene. Lauren was lying down and William was on top of her. He was unaware of what had happened. Looking up, I kicked the tent so that it flipped over with William and Lauren. Lauren started screaming. Her screams woke up Ethan, who immediately came out of the tent. I quickly threw the knife away so he wouldn't think I really wanted to hurt anyone. He saw the tent flip over with Lauren locked inside. Apparently, William had passed out. Ethan headed toward me. I didn't want to do anything to him, but the resentment inside me took over. So I grabbed a stick and ran toward him. He got scared and ran away from me. I shouted to the whole forest, "I know everything about you. I will expose you." At that moment, Caroline came out of the tent to check what was going on. I walked past her and yelled, "I thought we were friends, but now you're going to regret it." I got in my Ford and started it up. At that moment, Lauren ran out of the tent yelling, "Timothy, please don't go. Don't leave us here." I didn't care anymore. Silently, I left, and when I got home by morning, I called my dad and explained the situation. He advised me not to do anything stupid and gave me his lawyer's contacts. I quickly contacted the lawyer, and he explained to me the next course of action. At home, I took the $60,000 in cash that Lauren and I had set aside for our trip together, planned for 3 years. After taking the money and my belongings, I went to the police to file a report against William and Ethan for assault and bodily harm. I then rented a place for myself for a while. The lawyer insisted that under no circumstances would I have any contact with my wife. Lauren soon received notice, and we were due for divorce in a couple months. I transferred my Ford into my father's name so Lauren couldn't take it. Since we had no children, the divorce process had to go quickly. 4 days later, I got word that my former friends had come home, but they didn't know it was just the beginning. They didn't know where I lived. Lauren tried to contact me to inquire about the money, but I ignored her. The first court hearing was a month and a half later, where William and Ethan were to pay me compensation. Lauren's court date was a month and a half later, and we were officially divorced. All this time they wanted to talk to me, but I attended all the court hearings with a bodyguard and a lawyer. They defended me and I won all the court cases, getting Lauren's part of the house and compensation. I no longer wanted to stay in this city and state, so I planned to move. Lauren tried to contact me every day, but I didn't respond. The day I left, I hired 5 men to come to William and Ethan's house at night, banging on the door and breaking windows to provoke them and bring them to their knees. A week after I moved in, I received videos of my former friends apologizing. At that point, I decided to publish online all the photos and intimate messages they had exchanged. I also sent the compromising photos to Lauren's parents. They were previously dead set against me, but after I spoke to them calmly on the phone, they forgave me. I decided to move to California to start a new life. I had enough money to live comfortably for at least a year or a year and a half. During that time, I plan to build my online business and no longer work a full-time job. I don't know how my fate will turn out, but now I spend more time alone exploring interesting places and sites. I haven't found a new girlfriend and I'm not looking for a relationship, at least not right now. I am focused on my development and confident in myself, believing that things will work out for me sooner or later. Thank you for listening to my story. This is the end of the story. We'll be interested to read your opinion in the comments. Do you think the main character did the right thing by leaving all his friends alone in another state on a lake? Why did the main character's wife change drastically during the trip if she had been cheating on him for at least 7 months already? Write your opinion and don't forget to subscribe and give our channel a like. Good luck!
Thank you so much for watching my video and your time. Please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button. Also, I am very interested to know your personal opinion about this story. You can write it in the comments. I will definitely read it and reply to you personally.